Almost 230 years ago, an American statesman built his Virginia plantation home. Little did he know that today his house and its surrounding gardens would stand as one of this country's finest architectural treasures. Hi, I'm Joe Ruggiero, editor of the Living magazine, and for the next 5 minutes, I'd like to invite you to step back in time. We'll be visiting Gunston Hall to meet an authority on the home and its superb Palladian and Chinese Chippendale rooms. Don't go away.
The Living Magazine, brought to you by Ethan Allen Galleries. We help you make beautiful rooms.
Gunston Hall, like its original owner, George Mason, exemplifies a great period in American history, for it was here that Mason wrote the Virginia Declaration of Rights. We toured the formal gardens with Dr. Richard Howland, the first president of the National Trust for Historic Preservation. The gardens have been carefully restored with documented plants of colonial days. The property contains over 5,000 acres and was a self-sufficient plantation. We spoke with Dr. Howland about the superb interiors of this historic home and its unique architectural features.
The principal features of the outside are the little porches on the north and on the south, which are special, which are unique. The bulk of the house, this story-and-a-half cottage, you might say, made of brick with handsome acquire stone trimmings, however, is more or less traditionally mid-18th century Virginian. And the bulk of the house was conceived before William Buckland was brought in from England in 1755 by George Mason to ornament the structure that was underway at that time. In the house, the study is one of the rooms on the riverfront, on the south front. It's perhaps the simplest of the major interior rooms. Is where George Mason worked, where he drafted many of his famous political statements. And in a corner you can see his crutches and his gout stool. He suffered at the end of his life from gout. You can see also the folding ladder, which looks like a single pole and comes apart with the vertical steps, which it is said Thomas Jefferson gave him.
Let's talk about the Palladian room. There's a piece of paper over the mantel. What will that represent?
Oh, that piece of paper over the mantel is a sketch, a very carefully researched sketch of the overmantel and the fireplace surround that was originally there, but had been taken down at the end of the 18th century or very early the 19th century, and replaced by a neoclassic marble mantel. But there are traces of every little bit of the moldings which are drawn there on the design, and that will be reproduced. Buckland brought with him the latest from London. Not only these wonderful 16th century Palladian details, but also in the next room, in the dining parlor, he introduced something that was just beginning to be very fashionable in London, Chinese elements. Right. Derived from Thomas Chippendale. And this room was probably the first room in America with chinoiserie, rather fanciful things that are not actually pure Chinese. They're Thomas Chippendale's mid-18th century version of what he considered Chinese. The principal archaeological research really centered around those great pilasters in the hall and in the master bedroom.
Why is it on the ground floor?
Well, usually in these big houses, well, in the north as well as in the south, the owner and his wife usually, not always, usually had their main bedroom on the ground floor to be closer to the heart of things, to be on top of everything. Sometimes the bedroom was used as a sitting room or a parlor.
We could call this house possibly an architectural sampler.
It is a sampler. It is a sampler indeed. You see, it's sort of a handbook of several styles, all multum in parvo in this little house.
I've been talking with Dr. Richard Howland here at Gunston Hall. I'm Joe Ruggiero for this edition of the Living magazine.
The Living Magazine has been brought to you by Ethan Allen Galleries.